Please make me a co-host.
You need to be
okay?
made co-host again?
Yep, I'll be staying the whole time.
Okay. So you start in with as co-host, but then when I make you host and you go live stream, you drop your co-host privileges. You have to set, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the new policy is we're not allowing anybody in after 5 minutes unless support apps lets them in. Have you heard about that?
We haven't been told yet.
Okay, that's Neil is on the call today, and he said that so check with is Megan Fox the person who manages you guys?
Right, Megan and Melissa.
Okay, double check with them. Neil's put a new policy in place that says that anybody to prevent the Zoom bombing or minimize it, people are not admitted after 5 minutes unless it's done by us. They're directed to call support. And the support can let them in, but we don't have to after 5 minutes.
Okay, sure. All right,
The,
so people are here now. So
yeah, we can let's let them in, right?
Okay.
Oh, some familiar names. Okay. Hi, Gail. Like your background. Hi, Mary. Hi, Billy.
Hello. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Shirley. Good to see you. Carol.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Great, great. I'm doing good. Doing good. Ready for I'm going to start flying on the cloud today, so you'll get to see me floating away, I guess. So Gloria, hi. Marilyn, we'll just give you a few minutes to let people join in. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning or afternoon. It's 9:30 for me. I'm on the West Coast, so glad to see that you're all bright and awake. I'm on my second cup of coffee, so I think we're doing pretty good. Okay, one cup gets me started. I got a walk in this morning, so now the second cup keeps me bright and alert.
Almost time for lunch here.
Okay.
A little
That's
past.
right. Oh, now you got me thinking about lunch. That was.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So.
Good morning, Bob.
Hi. Who's that?
Rochelle.
Rochelle. Oh, hi, Rochelle. Hi. How are you? Good to see you.
Good.
Good. Good. Some regulars here. Good to see all of you again. Okay. So. Let me go through some introductory slides. Let me go through the agenda, and then I'll pause and see what kinds of cloud questions you've got. And this is about the 10th time I've done this class. I used to teach a class at community colleges about how to use iCloud, and I think I'm going to take on a class on iCloud for Apple. But I'm going to go on vacation for a couple of weeks in a few days. So maybe when I get back. Okay, let me share my screen and we'll get going here. Okay, understanding the cloud. It's a little different than how to use the cloud. Understanding something is, I think, a little bit different than learning how to use things. So this class is more designed to help you understand the concepts, the terminology, and other things about the cloud, as opposed to how to use a specific cloud, because we have information on those, on classes on those. For those of you that know me, I'm in Seal Beach. It sounds like a great little small town, but it's just tucked away in the middle of the Los Angeles metropolitan area. But we do have a nice little main street. It's great. I was born in Chicago, ended up going to college on the West Coast, stayed out here. For the most part, I did live abroad for a while, and I teach some classes on living abroad. And then the challenge I like to take on is trying to make technology simpler to understand and for people to use. So I enjoy teaching about technology. I like to click on things that other people are afraid to click on. So I just want to see what happens, right? Not everybody feels comfortable doing that. So get set up. We're a learning company. We learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you and you have your cameras on. It's great if we can do that. It's not a requirement though. We don't make you turn your camera on, but it helps me to see what people are reacting to and just in a live classroom. We've got a teaching assistant, Phil, who is on chat, and Phil is great. If I suggest a class, he's going to give you a link in chat. And I'm showing people how to save chat all the time on every class now, because a lot of people, they get chat. Shirley, did you try it out? Did it work? Go ahead.
I used it as soon as you said it. And after the class, I went to my Zoom folder and there it was with some other Zoom stuff that I had.
Oh, great, great. I'm going to show you how to do that so that that you know where to save chat and find it, because we mentioned things in chat a lot, but I realized that a lot of people didn't know how to use it. So we're going to do that. We're recording the class, and if we're live streaming, welcome to those of you watching us on live stream. We do encourage you to go to get set up an account and register. We're not paid to promote specific products, and no one in our classes is allowed to promote products, but we are mentioning things as we go through them for the purpose of training. And as you may have known, over the weekend, we had some Zoom bombing that was taking place. And so we've instituted a few procedures. You may have noticed that you're muted when you've joined the meeting now. We aren't letting people in after 5 minutes. If you try and join a meeting late, you'll be directed to support, and our support team can let you in if they can verify you, because we just need to be a little more careful about verifying our users. And it's all to make the Get Set Up meeting places safer for everyone, for you, the guides, and everything. And for those of you that were in any of the Zoom bomb classes, you know how annoying that can be. So appreciate your patience, and we're going to get a lot of other things that we improve to help make that Get Set Up a better place. So the agenda today is pretty simple, but we're going to talk about a lot of what could be considered very involved technology, but I'm going to try and make it simple for you to understand. What is the cloud? How using the cloud can help you, because it's like, well, should you, buy this or use that? You don't know what it does for you, then you don't know whether you can make a decision about it. And we'll take a look at the major cloud services, okay? So I'm going to pause a second and see what kinds of things people are hoping to be covered today. And if we can, we will. If not, we'll try and find another class that might help you out. But the cloud's a tough concept, because where do you get a hold of it, right? That's people's biggest challenge. So anybody have any questions about the cloud that they're hoping I can answer for them today?
My phone keeps telling me that I'm very close to being out of data. So I need some place to be able to put it, because I don't want to get rid of all these things. And I'm thinking about changing phones. So I want to be able to go someplace and have it to be able to put onto the new phone if necessary, if I can.
Okay, aren't sons helpful? Family members can be very helpful sometimes, and sometimes they're all the way across the country. And so, they just kind of assume that we're going to understand all this right away, and then they hang up. I'll talk to you later, mom, or talk, an aunt or uncle. And so, what they aren't explainers, and that's not always in their skill set, but they are helpful, but they aren't necessarily trained to explain. So that's a good question. We'll talk about that, Mary, and what it means to have things stored locally. You're running out of storage space is what he's saying. And he's recommending that you get more storage, but there's storage on your device and there's storage in the cloud. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Hopefully it'll become clear. You let me know if after about halfway through it's not making sense, okay? But hopefully we'll cover that. Okay. Shirley, you have a question?
will you touch upon the conflict I see between the iCloud and I'm using the right terminology, Google Cloud, in wanting to be the source that I use for my cloud? There seems,
Sure.
yeah, okay.
Just for you, Shirley, I'll cover that, okay? Okay, yeah, I do cover that. Yeah, so that is a confusing concept of who owns the cloud, right? And which cloud am I using, right? Now I'll give you something that might help you understand it a little bit too. Okay, great, good question. Anybody else? These are good concepts. I can see that people really, that we're struggling with what is this thing that we're trying to get our hands on. When people say the cloud, where is it? How do we find it? What do we do? Those types of things. And so hopefully this will help you understand that, and we'll compare the major clouds to each other and why you have options that you can choose. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Gloria.
With everybody, well, not everybody, using the cloud, I keep wondering, where is this cloud? How much space does it have? It's just out there. So is it going to run out of space?
Yeah, it's like UFOs and aliens, right? They're
Right.
out there somewhere, right? And so it's hard to make sense out of it. Hopefully, if I've done my job well today, we will help you understand what's out there. Okay.
Okay.
But it is a confusing concept because no one's physically showed you where this stuff is, and it really does exist physically. I mean, the internet is physical, and I used to run an internet service, so I'm gonna show you a few things that might help you understand it. Okay, good questions. Okay, let me get started, and we'll pause periodically for some questions and see what we do here. Okay. So, I like to draw if you've ever been in one of my classes. So the cloud is something that's out away from your home. So here's your home. That's a roof. That's not a very good roof. Let me draw a little door here. Okay. That's your home. And then you're connected to the internet somehow. And everything out here is a cloud. Well, a cloud would be better if it were blue, wouldn't it? So this is a blue cloud. Okay. So it's just not in your home. So there are computers, there are cables, there are all types of things that connect all these things together. They are physical computers in physical buildings that are connected by physical cables. And your internet service gets you to the cloud. We'll cover this some more, okay? They're located, the cloud is pretty much located in facilities called data centers. A data center is a building that is designed to hold computers like this, okay? So it's rows, floors, and it might be one floor, it might be multiple floors. They're big buildings, and their job is to hold the computers that hold all of our storage and applications and other things. And I'll give you an idea of how you might be familiar with what a data center does. Probably most of you have used maps for direction on your computer or your phone, right? But the map itself is not actually stored in your phone, in memory on your phone or in memory on your computer. You go to the web or you go to an app and you type in an address or you look for directions and you send a message out to a data center, and then it sends you a map back that you can see that has information on it, directions and other things like that. So the data center is where the map information is stored in their computers on their hard disk drives. These are computers just like the computers we have at home, only they're shaped a little bit differently, and they are meant to stack on top of each other as opposed to sitting on a desk or a laptop. But it's a computer with memory and storage in it, and they do calculations. So the computers that store, say, Google Maps or Apple Maps or something, they are map computers. They store the map information, and then when you request it, it gets sent to you. When you go to your bank and you want to check your balance online, you send a message to your bank, and your bank has computers in a data center, and those computers send you information back on your balance and let you do transactions. So companies and organizations have used data centers for dozens of years, but they've been very expensive. What's made the cloud so prevalent with us lately is the fact that people like Apple and Google and Amazon and Microsoft and Facebook and other people like governments and universities, it's become less expensive. So now consumers can have the same services available that corporations and businesses and governments used to use. We can have our own space in the cloud, just like they used to have, they have it. And so it's become more important. But these are physical buildings. You won't see them identified very much because they don't want to advertise them pretty much, but they're out there all over the world. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, believe it or not. And this is where the cloud pretty much exists. And it's connected to the world. Okay, so I found a great piece of information. It's called a submarine cable map. And this shows, this is a company that maps cables that go under the oceans and underwater. Now, whenever you see a road crew, digging up a street, there's a 50-50 chance they are putting in a cable. If they're not doing a sewer line, if they're not doing water, if they're not doing electricity, they're doing an internet cable. And so a lot of our digging up of roads and traffic and blockage and things like that is for them to install cables. And a lot of these manhole covers that are in streets, when you lift them up, a lot of them access electrical cables. And so they access cables. So in the United States and in physical land, where you have land, the cables typically run underground. Okay, but overseas, the cables run under the ocean. And there are cable laying organizations that lay cable. And so some of them are owned by companies that rent space. Some of them are owned directly by people like Google and Facebook and Apple and Amazon that run really, really big networks of their own. But it's all physically connected. This little picture here shows you, this is actually a book about the undersea network that shows, and this is what it looks like when a cable comes from water up to land. It's surrounded by a pipe to protect it. And so when it comes on land, but it's a cable that's running from England to America or something like that, like the telegraph cables that connected telegraphs all over the world. There are data centers all over the world. I've got a map here. It's not the best map because not everybody like Google or Apple wants you to know where their data centers are located. But this is an example of where data centers are located. And these are data centers that are all over the world. They're just tons and tons of them, and different companies run them. Some are owned entirely by somebody like Apple. And so when you're connecting to Apple's cloud, you're going over the internet to a data center that is run by Apple. When you order something from Amazon, you're going out to the internet and you're connecting to a data center that is owned by Amazon. And so the connections get you there. So it's just, think of the cloud as something that is separate from what you can see in your home. If it's in your home, it's local. You might have a hard drive, you might have a computer, you might have a phone in your hand. So those are all things that are local. You can get your hands on these. Okay. But these are physical buildings. I was lucky that I got to tour some, but not everybody gets to do that. So what are these computers doing? Well, we talked about maps, okay? And some of them are doing maps, but also some of them keep websites. So computers can hold websites for us. So when we want to get a website, like I mentioned, our bank or our shopping cart, or we want to see something on Wikipedia or something like that, these computers run websites. they also run other things. They all run storage, okay? And that's commonly what consumers think of as things that might be in the cloud. So instead of having a disk drive connected to you in your home, connected to a computer, so here's your laptop at home, and that's not the best laptop drawing today, but it'll do. In your laptop, you have a hard drive that stores information, right? That's called local, okay? Not technically, but that's what a lot of people refer to it. That's your local storage. So Mary, when your son says you're running out of storage, he might mean that you are running out of storage on your computer or your phone, okay? If you have information stored in your phone, it's local storage. I can't hold my computer up to the screen, but if you have a disk drive in your computer, it's on your computer. So it's there. If you have it stored in the cloud, it's on a computer somewhere out away from you. So it's just a internet connection, and it's just another disk drive that you have connected to your computer, but you need this cable or wire or wireless, like Wi-Fi is wireless and cellular, to get you from what's out on the internet in the cloud, and you can get to it then. But all you need is that connection. But so there's local and there's connection. Now, a really good way that I found worked in another class to help explain this is that if you have a bank, I don't know how good a bank I can draw, but let's say this is a bank, you know, and you've got money in your bank account. This is bank A, and then you have a mattress in your home. Let's see, I can know if I can draw a mattress very well, and you've got a zipper in it. And this is where you keep money in your home, okay? So just like your home, you've got money, you can go to your mattress and get cash out of it. I keep an envelope with a little bit of cash at home. I think everybody keeps something, a coin jar, something, right? That's local, right? You can get to that, you can grab it. What about the money in the bank? Can you grab the money from your home and get to it if it's in the bank? No, you got to go to the bank to get it. And then you can make a withdrawal and get the cash from the bank or their ATM network. So just like you have a place where you can put money locally or in the bank, you have a place where you can put data, things like photos, emails, files, and other information. You can keep them locally, or you can keep them in the cloud, or you can keep a copy. Now, money you can't copy, but data, fortunately, there's no crime in copying data. I don't want you to go out and copy money. It's not a good thing to do. Okay, so Shirley has a question. Running out of storage can be ongoing. Well, just like if your mattress will only hold so much money, your phone will only hold so much data. And if you have data you're using in the cloud, it may tell you, you may get messages saying you've reached your limit of storage. So the important thing to understand is the storage in the cloud, or is the storage in your device, on your computer or smartphone? Local, cloud. Make sense? Okay. Well, okay, so let's go on to how we get to the internet to get to these things. You have a service you probably pay a monthly fee to called an internet service provider, ISP. And mine happens to be Spectrum. There's Cox, there's Fios, there's AT&T. Okay, they give you a cable that connects to your home, and then you can connect devices in your home to them, and they will take care of getting you out to the internet and the cloud. They take care of that. Okay. Another service that does it is your cellular company. They provide you pay them a monthly fee to get a connection that lets you connect from your phone to their cell towers, right? Okay, you've seen cell towers around all over the place. And they have these towers connected by a wire to their facility, their data center, and they get you out to the internet. So you can get to the internet through your internet service provider, or you can get to the internet through your cellular service, and they take care of getting you to what's on the internet. And one of the things on the internet is the cloud. Now, the problem with the term cloud is that it doesn't always mean the same thing. It's not like USDA choice. It's not like non-fat milk. It's not like 100% beef, type of thing. It's a marketing term. And so there's no specification that exists for saying this is the cloud. So pretty much all the companies that are working with the cloud and offering services, think of everything that is here that when you're connected to the internet as the cloud. So sometimes they call it the internet, sometimes they call it the cloud, but it usually means the same thing. But the cloud isn't anything specific unless they have a specific service that they're talking about, like iCloud or other things like that. But that's the one challenge with the terminology, is that the cloud just means something. And the way the cloud got started, by the way, is that when we computer people were doing things and we were talking to organizations, and we would talk to an organization. I'm going to draw a little box here where I can draw things. We'd talk to an organization, we'd say, okay, this was in the early days of computers in the 60s and 70s. You have a computer monitor on your desk, and that monitor was connected by a cable to something called a mainframe. And then every desk in the office had a monitor that was connected to the mainframe. Well, then we started connecting mainframes together. And so these terminals could go to the physical connection, might be here, but they could actually go and get data and communicate with this other mainframe. And then we added another mainframe, so then it became a situation where, gosh, we're drawing a lot of lines on a blackboard. This is literally how the cloud started, okay? And then we said, wait a second, instead of drawing all this stuff, let's draw a cloud, okay? And we draw this big cloud like this. And then when people had monitors, they were just connected up to the cloud. And it meant that they were connected to all the mainframe computers. That's actually how the term the cloud got started when it got referred to by computers. So these are just bunches and bunches of computers that are in facilities that are connected together by cables and wires and other things. It'd be nice if we could get tours of data centers, but very few people give them. A cloud could be run on a mainframe. Mainframe's kind of an older terminology. A mainframe used to be where people had one big computer, and it took forklift trucks to move that computer. That kind of referred to a mainframe. Now, the cloud consists of, instead of one big computer, let me draw that again, let me clear that. Instead of one big computer, the cloud consists of stacks and stacks of smaller computers that are just stacked on top of each other, and they're all connected together. And it's just a more economical way to make. So they're just stacks and stacks of computers that are all connected. And what you see in data center is not one computer, but you see stacks and stacks of computers in these cabinets.
All right. So the terminology in business is no longer the data is stored on the company's mainframe. It's stored on the company's cloud.
Usually, yes. Yes, a mainframe generally refers to one specific really large computer, whereas the cloud refers to a bunch of computers that are all doing something, But yeah, mainframes, kind of went away a little bit. Okay, so now we know, and like if you have a stack of computers, one could be doing maps, one could be doing customer transactions, one could be doing email. You know, they're all computers. They all do things for you. So, how many of you have a Gmail account or Yahoo Mail? Anybody have Gmail and Yahoo Mail? Okay, so you probably know that you can go to the website for Gmail and get to your mail, right? But if you aren't at your home computer, you can use your cell phone to go get mail also, can't you? And your Gmail is actually not actually stored on your device. It's actually in the cloud. And there's a computer dedicated, or a bunch of computers dedicated to running Gmail. Okay, just like there's a bunch of computers dedicated to running Google Maps. There's a bunch of computers dedicated to running Apple, iTunes for music. There's a bunch of computers dedicated to running Uber. You know, when you use Uber or Lyft and you schedule a ride, or something like Instacart or DoorDash if you had delivery, those compute that you are connecting to a computer through your cellular or internet service, and that computer is set to do those things for you. And it might be one computer, but it might be a dozen, it might be hundreds that are all doing this. I mean, obviously, given how many people use Google Maps every day, it's not just one single computer, it's bunches and bunches and bunches, and probably they're located in different data centers in different parts of the world, so that if you're in Spain or Japan or Mexico, you can get maps really fast no matter where you are. So by making it possible for more than one computer to do a job, they got away from mainframes. They basically just created a group of computers, and they just started calling them clouds, because they were just groups of computers, but they were all doing the same thing, and they could all communicate with each other. Okay, so some internet terms. When you put a letter in an envelope, you are transmitting data. And say, well, Bob, where do you get that idea from? Well, let's say the letter says something, and you want to write a letter to a friend letting them know about a trip you're taking, or something you've done, or you're writing a letter to talk to a realtor, or somebody else, or you're just writing a letter. The letter is a piece of data. It goes into a container called an envelope, right? And when you give it to a postal mailbox center, they get it to their destination. Well, the internet has a similar thing. All of these computers are out on the internet. They're somewhere, okay? But how they're found is with addresses. The addressing scheme, instead of a zip code or a street number, it's called a URL, for Uniform Resource Locator. And these addresses like google.com and getsetup.io, they're addresses that computers on the internet can tell when you send something out to your ISP and say, gee, I'd like to get to my Zoom meeting. The ISP knows where to forward the message, and then another computer forwards the message, and another computer forwards the message, right? And it gets to its destination, and it sends a message back because you have a return address called an Internet Protocol address. In fact, all computers on the internet have a number, but because we like using words better and links, we tend to use URLs to get to computers on the internet. But it works very similarly to the post office. You don't know whether you send a letter if it's going to go by truck or train or airplane, right? You don't know how it's going to get to its destination. And do you really care? You just want to get there, don't you? You just want to get there. I mean, FedEx and UPS, they're shipping physical things. Amazon, they are shipping physical things, but the stuff that goes from one computer or to another computer is a file of information. It's a bunch of zeros and ones that are in a computer file, and that file can be sent over wires and from one place to another. And that's how we get things to places.
Is there a control, one source control system that assigns IP addresses? Because I can't even think of how many numbers of computers there are in the world to each have their own address. That's just kind of like, that blows my mind.
It does, doesn't it? There actually is an international regulatory authority
Really?
called ICANN,
Uh-huh.
ICANN. It's well, I don't know what it stands for. Let me do a website here. Okay, so let's see if I can bring up my website. But it assigns ICANN. See if it brings it up. Icon. Okay, ICANN. Let me clear my sketches here. This is the organization. It's a international organization that manages a lot of things on the internet. They have information. They manage all of these addresses all over the world. So you just can't make one up, you know.
Well, I know you can. I just, like I said, very few things just overwhelm me, but this is one of them. Just amazing.
Yeah. So there's an organization that controls that. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
in order for the internet to work, everybody has to agree to abide by their rules. Otherwise, now you can set up a private network. Governments, like military networks,
Mhm.
some corporations have their own private network that's separate from the internet. Okay, so that's possible too,
Right.
to have something that's not on the internet. And so they can manage it their own way if they want, however they want to. But just like street numbers, you know, when and there's a lot of construction going on in a community, you get new streets that get built and new street numbers get assigned, and it's usually done by the local zoning organization. But ICON is the organization that creates all these addresses for people. Okay. So what do you get from the cloud? Well, since the cloud is a bunch of computers and a bunch of computers can do different things, clearly one of the things you can get is storage. Another thing you can get is backup. You can also do sharing, where you can share a link from a file that you have in the cloud with someone else, and and some of these computers in the cloud run applications. We talked about maps and email and calendar and other things that are stored in the cloud. Okay. But just like you might have money in different banks, you could have data and information and services in different clouds. For example, Apple Maps stores their map data in Apple's cloud, whereas Google Maps stores their data in Google's cloud. So you're connecting to two different clouds when you're connecting to Apple to get to Maps, or when you're connecting to Google to get to Maps. And it's like money you might have in, say, Wells Fargo or Bank of America or your credit union. You might have 2 or 3 bank accounts, but if you want to get the money out of the bank where you have it on deposit, you've got to go to a branch office of that particular bank, don't you? You can't go to the other one. So you can keep information in different places. And that's where life gets a little confusing. But what we have to think about a little bit now, and this is where it's kind of like changing everything. For years and years and years and years and years, we did not have this thing called the cloud. Okay. And we had maybe laptops or desktops, and maybe we had one computer in our home, right? And you might have had a personal computer for a long time. They've been around a long time. Well, then in 2007, Apple came out with this thing called the iPhone, and it became more and more and more popular. You may have remembered a device made by a company called Research in Motion called the BlackBerry. For those of you that know Blackberries, right? Okay, we're getting a little tech history here. And so
Yeah.
you had a BlackBerry and you had a computer. How did you keep things in sync between the two? Well, BlackBerry and RIM had services that would run a cloud. They didn't call it a cloud so much at the time, for companies where they could make their mail and synchronize their mail, and typically their mail contacts and calendars is what they would use all the time. Well, and then we went from RIM to smartphones. Okay, so everybody, in their world now seems to have a smartphone in their hand. As soon as you reach the age of 12, you get one automatically, right? So everybody's got a smartphone in their hand, and now we use our desktop or our laptop, and that might be our personal computer, but we've also got this little thing called a phone, which is a very powerful computer also. And so how do we as consumers keep things in sync? If we have an email we want to send on our phone, it'd be nice when we sat down at our desk to be able to see the email and what was sent. We don't want to have to go to our phone for stuff we do on the phone and go to the computer for stuff we do on the computer, right? And so then some people may have even gotten a tablet. So now they might have 3 devices. And so keeping information in sync across all these devices is something the cloud can do for you. So if you keep a master copy in the cloud, then whenever a device connects up to the cloud, it updates what information is on the device. So instead of really having the master copy on your local drive, you now have the master copy in the cloud, and you are updating it and getting it copied whenever you want to view it and access it. So it's a little bit different than thinking, some things I keep locally, but some things I keep in the cloud. So there's things you can keep just on your computer, just on your phone, just on your tablet, or there's things you can keep in the cloud, or things you can keep in both places at once. So think of the cloud as another place that you connect to, only it's over the internet that you connect to it. Okay, so if you can keep things in the cloud, it makes it easier to say, oh, I want to get my bookmark, for websites that I have on my phone, and I want them to be the same as what I use on my desktop. I don't want to constantly have to search for things. I want to be able to have notes and see the same notes I use on my computer on my phone, so that when I go out and about I can see them. I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm not at home, I can't get to that note. If you have your phone, you can get to the note. So that's the advantage of having things in the cloud. It will help make sure that they're on both 2 or 3 or even 4 places at once, if you want to. However, just like there's bank accounts where you can deposit money separately, you can put data and services in different clouds. Okay, so Apple runs something called iCloud, and Apple's cloud is very much made for Apple devices. It really works well with Apple devices, and it works on Macs, works on iPhones and iPads. It will work on Windows, and you can get to everything on iCloud through the web. You can just go to iCloud.com and get to the web. In fact, all of them let you get to your cloud through the web, no matter what. Apple gives you 5 gigabytes of storage for free. Apple also backs up your phones to iCloud. So some people get a message on their screen that says you haven't run a backup for 390 days. You need to upgrade your storage plan. It's the cloud storage that is preventing you from doing backups, not your local storage, okay? And you want to have a backup because if you're ever lost your phone or it broke or it got stolen, then you can go to a store, get a new phone and reconnect it to the cloud, and everything will be there. Your photos, your email, all the things you had, your applications, anything you were saving. Apple charges 99 cents a month for an upgrade to 50 gigabytes. I use iCloud a lot, and I've got about 20 gigabytes of photos. That's what I mostly use it for. And the rest of the stuff takes up maybe 10 gigabytes. So it doesn't take up a lot of storage, but it's great to store photos there. I just don't worry about organizing them too much anymore because it does it for you. Apple gives you apps that work in the cloud, a word processing tool called Pages, a presentation slideshow tool called Keynotes, and a spreadsheet called Numbers. And obviously you can back up your photos to iCloud as well. And there's other apps too, like reminders. You know, so if I'm sitting and doing a commercial on TV, I said, oh, I got to remember to do something. I'll put something in the reminders app and it'll be available for me to look at on my Mac within a few seconds. And so that's the cloud moving those. But because Apple makes the phone, they make a Mac, you know, if you like for your Windows PC, Windows PCs don't have the Apple reminders app. So you can't use reminders from your phone on your Windows PC, but you can use it on the web if you wanted to go there. So if you have different technology from different companies, you kind of have to think which is going to be the best cloud for me. Okay, so Apple's the most hardware specific of all the clouds, but they're really good. You get a lot of nice services from them. So if you had a phone and a Mac and a iPad, I would say, you know, focus on using iCloud a lot. It's good. The next one is, of course, another friendly, you know, technology company, Google. And Google has Google Drive, but they also have Google Photos. They have other things like Google Docs for writing. They have Google Slides, Google Sheets for spreadsheets. And they give you 15 gigabytes of free, which also includes your Gmail storage. So if you use Gmail, it will use up some of the 15 gigabyte free storage. And you can upgrade. I think somebody mentioned recently, and I have to check it, I'm sorry, that this got changed to 100 gigabytes now for $1.99. So I have to update the slide if that's the case. I have to check my data. But you're going to pay a little fee for the cloud. And the last one is Microsoft.
Bob, can I ask you, what I have now is an Android phone, but I am going to switch over to an iPhone. If I have the Google service that has all my docs and everything on it, can I transfer that to an iCloud and have all that go over there?
You'd have to move them by moving them from Google Drive to your iCloud Drive. Now,
But
a
it can't
simpler
be
way,
done.
a simpler way to do things is that Google's apps all run on iPhones.
Um,
So if you're using Google Photos, you can use it on your iPhone. If you're using Google Docs, you can use it on your iPhone. If you're using Google Drive, you can use it on your iPhone. If you're using Gmail, you can use on your iPhone. But you don't have to switch services just because you're switching devices, okay? Now, Apple stuff, like if you were using iCloud and you went from an iPhone to an Android, not going to work. iCloud does not work on Android, okay? But Apple lets you download Google apps from the App Store. I've got about a dozen Google apps that I use on my phone. So the iPhone's kind of, you know, the Apple kind of decided, let's let everybody, you know, that has a good app make their app available on the iPhone so that we don't care what service they use. They kind of care, but they're not going to stop you from using it and make you say, well, if you go to an iPhone, you have to use iCloud. You don't have to. You can use any cloud you want almost. As long as there's an app available in the App Store, you can do that. Changing technology is a little bit of a miss, you know, sometimes it's an adventure. I call it an adventure, you know. Okay, now the last one, and not least but last, but there's actually many more clouds out there, but OneDrive is the cloud storage available from Microsoft. And again, Microsoft makes it available on Windows. They also make it available on Macs. They make it available on iPhones and iPads. they make it available on Android, and they make it available on the web. So it's what's called a cross-platform application. So it'll work on many devices. Google's stuff will work on Windows. It'll work on other things. Google may not have a lot of apps. Google doesn't really have a mail app for Windows or Macs, but they do have a website where you can go to and use your Gmail. So you would use it through that. Now, OneDrive is integrated, is separate. You do get 5 gigabytes for free. You can buy just storage for $1.99 a month for 100 gigabytes. But if you subscribe to Microsoft 365, they upgrade your storage to 1 terabyte of cloud storage, and you get the full desktop professional versions of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Photos, and some extra services too. So if you're a person that's used to using Microsoft applications, you don't have to stop using them and integrating your information just because you go to an Android or an iPhone or a Mac. You know, if you're a Google user and you predominantly use Google services, you don't have to change if you're going from, you know, Google, you know, to an Android phone to an iPhone or a Mac. You can still do all of these things on your hardware. A few things are different, like Apple, they don't make apps for photos for Windows, for example, because Apple's predominantly a device company. They want you to buy a piece of hardware from Apple. You know, they want you to buy a phone or a Mac, and then they have all these services that they connect you to. And for people that, you know, like to use them together, that's a good strategy. But for people that are used to using Windows and just want to continue to use Office or Word or whatever from their desktop and do it on their phone, you can download the apps on your phone and you can get to it. It's like having 3 different banks: the bank of Apple, the bank of Google, and the bank of Microsoft. And if you make a deposit in one bank, you just got to remember to go back to that bank to get the money out. So it's just like having your money in 3 different places, only you have your data and your software in 3 different places. You can use all 3. I'm a little bit off the beaten path in that I do use all 3, but partly because I teach classes in all of them. But they all are really, really good. They all do a lot of work for you. There's no wrong cloud. There's the right cloud for you. And I'm a big fan of, if you're used to doing something with Google, stick with Google apps. You know, if you're used to doing something with Microsoft apps, stick with Microsoft apps. I mean, it's a lot of work to switch from using Word to using, you know, Sheets or to using Pages on Apple, right? If you don't have to learn it, don't bother having to learn it, because you're going to always look, well, how do I do this? I know how to do this in Word. I know how to do this in my iPhone. I know how to do this. And, you know, stick with what you know, because it's going to save you a lot of time and learning. But they're just, you know, and each of them runs their own data centers, but they're all connected. So from your phone, you can get to Google, you can get to Microsoft, you can get to Apple. It doesn't matter whether you've got an Android phone or a Google phone. It's just that on Android, getting to Apple might be a little bit less, you know, functional. It might have a few limited features. Okay, the cloud business is pretty big. Okay, so for those of you that have any money in retirement funds or index stock funds or pensions or things like that, our retirement funds invest in these organizations all the time. This is what really took off during the pandemic, but it was taking off before that too, because it became much more productive to do things this way. And it made working from home and really possible, you know, during the pandemic. Amazon, who you think of as a retail, you know, store online, they actually run a cloud business that generates $51 billion a year in revenue. They have data centers all over the world. They actually rent them out and rent space on their data centers to other organizations, companies, governments, schools, nonprofits. So they run a cloud and they can give a business their own personal cloud space. We actually get a little bit of data from Amazon with our Amazon Prime account, but you know it's mostly for storage that we would use it for. Microsoft calls their cloud for business Azure, Azure. That's a really big business for them. They sell much more to companies than they do to consumers. And if you work in any organization or if you work for any nonprofit or community, you find typically that they're using Microsoft tools, but it's $56 billion for them. And Google, who you'd think would be the biggest one in the cloud, they're actually number 3 at $16 billion a year. Still not a small business, right? These are big businesses just by themselves, and they're all growing at about 25 to 30% a year. Other companies like IBM, Dropbox, Oracle, Comcast, even people like Dell and HP that used to sell hardware are now getting into providing cloud services for companies that want to run things in the cloud. And even governments like city governments and police departments and other people like that are starting to use cloud services as well. So they're very secure. These people have the top security people in the computer industry on their staff, and they make sure that these clouds are incredibly secure, more secure than our desktops and laptops usually. So hopefully this has helped you understand the cloud, because that's what we were trying to accomplish today. So when you have some information about it, you can get, Nancy has a question in chat. I'm assuming if a private person wants to use cloud space for files, there would be a charge, right? Right. Well, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon will give you like a tiny little bit of space for free, but just for setting up an account. But if you want more, you would pay more. And it's usually a monthly subscription charge that you pay based on how much space you want in their cloud. So yeah, incredibly, we're going to all be using clouds more. And so some great resources are some classes we have on each of the clouds. So my personal recommendation, and keep in mind it's personal, it's not what everybody might tell you, but if you're used to using one service more than others, like Google apps and services, or Apple apps and services, or Microsoft apps, it's easier to stick with what you know already, I think, because you're familiar with it, you know how it works. And as long as they have apps that will work on whatever device you buy or use, you can use it. Apple would like to see you buy a Mac after you buy your iPhone, but they know a lot of people don't. But they're in the business of selling hardware. Microsoft and Google are more in the software and web services business, although they do make hardware, but their business is more geared towards those services and applications as opposed to selling devices. The iPhone is the biggest revenue generator for Apple, so they want more people to buy iPhones all the time. So we've learned a little bit about basics of clouds, some of the advantages and why you might use it, and a few of the differences between the major cloud services. The great thing is that consumers win when there's different competition. Now, some classes that are coming up, there's classes that are being offered by other instructors on Google Drive and using the Google Cloud, using OneDrive. I think Wade does that one. I'm not sure, but I think Wade's currently doing the iCloud class, but after I get back from vacation, I will probably be picking that one up. But I'm not positive because we're moving some instructors' class assignments around. And I do classes on Windows 10 settings, finding new iPhone apps, home networks, other things that might be helpful for you. And you'll get an email with links to all of the cloud services, Microsoft, Apple, Google, and see what's available to you. You can learn more about them. Will give us some feedback. As you know, we had some Zoom bombing, and so we fortunately didn't have any of that experienced in this class. And I think we've pretty much got it almost stopped, but it's hard to stop, I know, but will be great. And Phil is posting some things in chat now, and so you can always request a recording. And I wanted to show you just quickly before I go. I know it's 10:30 and some of you might have to go. I wanted to just show you on my desktop how to save chat, if you're interested. Now it's going to look small, I'm sorry, because I have a big desktop. So you can see my Zoom window here, and here's my chat window. And let me draw a shape around it so you can see it. Here's my chat box in the upper left, okay? In the lower right of your chat box, there should be 3 dots. And if this is for iPhone, but not for Macs and laptops and Windows and desktops. It doesn't work this way on iPads. iPads don't have a way to save the chat. You'd have to take a screenshot of it. But if you're using a desktop and you click on these 3 dots in chat, you will see an option to save chat. You won't see these other options because I'm the host, but as a participant, if you click on Save Chat, then the file is saved, okay? And it is saved in your Documents folder, and it is saved in a Zoom folder that's been created by Zoom in your Documents folder. And that's where you can find chat. Just look in Documents and look for Zoom. So hopefully this helped you all learn a little bit of the cloud. Did you learn a few things today? Okay. Good, good. Now, I'm
Yes,
not
I did.
go out and explain the cloud to people, but now you understand a little bit better what the heck's going on when people talk about the cloud. You can kind of, oh, that's where that cable is going to a big data center computer facility, right? And that's what it is. That's all it is. Okay. Well, any other questions? Did we take care of answering everything for everybody that had questions from the beginning? I just want to make sure. Okay, good.
I have a
Good.
question. I see if I can get it in 15 words. I use an iPhone. When I connect it to my laptop, it asks, what do you want to allow iPhone to use your photos? So I'm ended up with photos on my iCloud, my OneDrive, and I think 3 places, but I know for 2 for sure. Are they automatically saving my photos? Just period. I don't have to, they're just automatically saved by my iCloud and my OneDrive.
Well, that's a hard question to answer because I'm not sure exactly what steps you might have gone through to get your photos from your phone to your computer.
If I plug it in,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you plug it in, it's going to transfer, it's going to think your phone is a digital camera.
Right.
Okay, and it will move all of the photos from your phone to your Windows Photos file.
Right.
If you save your photos from your Windows computer to OneDrive, they will be in OneDrive, okay? If you save your photos from your iPhone to iCloud, they will be in OneCloud.
But I don't have to, when you say save, I don't have to do anything. If I take a picture with my iPhone, and so what I'm saying is, it seems that these clouds I have the same set of pictures in iCloud as in the other cloud. That's what I'm saying. The same set of pictures.
Yeah, because if your phone is set up to automatically send pictures to iCloud when you take them, then it's sending them up to iCloud. And then when you plug it into your Windows computer, it's importing the pictures into your OneDrive. So you are saving them in 2 places, which is okay. Which is okay. I like saving things in 2 places in case something happens to one, right? but you're just using two clouds for the same information.
Okay.
As long as you've got the storage, it's okay.
Can I ask you a question along the same line? I have Amazon Photos. So my photos in my phone are automatically moved to Amazon Photos. If I delete all the photos off of my phone, they're still there up in Amazon Photo, correct? Or would they?
Not necessarily. Okay. I don't use Amazon Photos myself, so I can't say for sure. But what you want to find out, typically when you delete a photo in a cloud, it will delete it everywhere in that cloud. So be careful about deleting photos from a cloud. Like I know on iCloud and OneDrive, if you delete it in OneDrive photos, it's deleted in your photos everywhere. If you delete it in iCloud photos, it's deleted everywhere. I just don't use Amazon, so I can't answer that for Amazon, but I'd be very careful about that before you delete a photo and make sure you want to keep it. They just, and it's, to me, here's the thing. Do I worry about deleting photos? Well, it's simpler and easier to just buy more storage, you know, or upgrade a piece of hardware. Unfortunately, that's the solution these days. Because, you know, remember, we didn't used to have these for taking pictures, right? We used to take pictures with a Kodak camera, and we had prints. We'd go to the pharmacy and we get our film developed, and we'd come home, and we've still got boxes of photos in our homes. I'm sure all of you have those. So it's you know, something that these days, just paying a few dollars a month, it's less than what it costs to get film developed. And so I like doing that. Anyway, we're running over. I've got to wrap up the class and say goodbye. Thank you all for coming and participating, and great questions. And we'll see you again soon. Okay. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We are located